He's worth $1.4 billion.
I think that with Tyler Perry, like a lot of his...
Is it like cash? Is he Scrooge McDuckie? He's not living this humble life.
He's not Dave Ramsey?
He's not Dave Ramsey in this.
Worth over $100 million.
Presidents have just been there to stay at his house.
I'd stay at his house.
I could live in like the other corner of his house and
No
he would
one would
never
know you were
know. The man has his own replica of the White House.
I would just sit in that Oval Office and just pretend to be president all the time.
Bomb that shit. Kill that motherfucker. Raise the taxes.
Putting his $800 million expansion plans on hold. He is pressing pause because of the rapid rise of artificial intelligence.
Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we have a very special guest. 24 feature films, 20 stage plays, 17 television shows, 2 New York Times best-selling books, and the owner of Tyler Perry Studios. If you haven't guessed it, it's Mr. Tyler Perry. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show.
Dude, I wish he was on our podcast.
I've
seen him on...
He's looking dapper there.
That's a cool picture. For real, though, I've seen him on a lot of podcasts, and hearing his story... He went on like T.I.'s podcast.
Is he on a lot of podcasts?
He's been on 4 or 5 podcasts.
Why is he not coming on ours?
Well, that would be so cool. Dude, can you imagine if we could actually tour?
You were supposed to?
I would love to. If we could take a tour of his studios and then like just sit down with him and have a podcast and just get the wisdom from him would be.
We're going to get a tour tonight though, right?
We are getting a little bit of a virtual tour of his place.
You set that up for us.
A lot of people know him for, obviously he is an American actor. He is a filmmaker and a playwright. So, but most people know him for Medea. Especially I remember Diary of a Mad Black Woman. I love that. And when I was a kid, I did not know that was a man acting.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not know.
Oh.
He's made over $670 million off of his movies. And they say, later on we have some stats where his profit was like $230 million off of that.
Yeah. Let me give you those stats. So it was actually his 13 most popular films grossed over $600 million at the box office, but cost him less than $10 million to make.
What? Whoa. What? Yeah. It cost him that per movie?
No. So total for making those was $10 million.
Dude, that is such a cool thing.
So you do the math, that's $590 million in profit. And that's like a 98% profit margin.
Well,
that's no wonder he's filthy rich.
So as far as filthy rich, according to Wikipedia now, he's worth $1.4 billion in 2024. That's so much money.
That's something.
And so I think a lot of people would wonder, well, his dad was somebody, his mom was somebody, he was connected. But when I got to actually looking into him and listening to podcasts and things he had wrote, it's actually kind of a sad beginning.
Just to comment, though, on his net worth.
Yes, please go into it.
I think it's worth pointing out, compared to some of the people that we've talked about on this show, like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or some of these folks, a lot of the super uber wealthy people in the world, their wealth, as we've talked about, is tied up in equity, in stocks, in their stake in a company or many companies. I think that with Tyler Perry, like a lot of his...
Is it like cash? Is he Scrooge McDuckie? Is he swimming? Dude, I bet you he's swimming through that at night.
Maybe, but it's probably just tied up like in his personal assets. Right. Like he could probably turn around tomorrow and sell everything if he wanted to. Whereas like...
His mansions.
Like as we talked about, if someone like Elon Musk turned around and sold half his net worth tomorrow... it would tank the value of several companies and tank his overall value. He couldn't just liquidate his cash he couldn't liquidate his net worth into cash without some serious ramifications. But like, I think with Tyler Perry, like it's just cash money.
I was wondering,
I think
you're right. But I was wondering, okay, why is he so rich? And I was like, okay.
Did you not just hear 98% profit margin?
Yes. Okay. But that's one of the things that I didn't know. Okay. I get it. He made movies, but I assumed he would go to the production companies and say, I wrote a script. Will you please give me money to make these movies?
I want to portray a big, angry, older woman for an hour and a half in a movie.
Exactly. That's the standard way. People pitch to these studios and then the studios give them money. But that's not the case for him. Right. I had no clue he had made millions before he even went to the movies. And he did it through plays. and he owned it outright and everything. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Can we just show a little bit of like how baller he is? Have you seen this video?
No, but I've seen this mansion, this new mansion that he's still building, I guess. The interior, but the exterior, and the whole. Yeah,
but this looks like something from like the 1600s.
This is absolutely the most amazing giant mansion ever. Tyler Perry's epic house in Douglasville, Georgia, worth over $100 million.
That's
the billionaire
crazy.
filmmaker bought the land in 2013 and built his dream home on more than 1,000 acres. The mansion covers approximately 40,000 square feet of living space, with 8 bedrooms and 12 bathrooms. It also features a large lap pool, a private runway, and an organic farm. The exterior of the mansion is a blend of contemporary and European-style elements, with glass walls, pyramid-shaped skylights, and a grand entrance. The interior of the mansion is equally impressive, with a marble foyer, a theater room, a fitness center, and a ballroom. The mansion is close to Perry's 330-acre Atlanta film studio, where he produces his movies and shows.
Well, we don't need to podcast on anything else. We covered it.
That's it.
Can you... one day it's my dream to have a home that has a foyer. A foyer.
Foyer. I want a runway.
Yeah, well, that's another dream.
He also has a house for like his guest. Just like another gigantic mansion that most people would be like, I'm going to flex by having that. It's his guest house.
But isn't that also where he keeps his planes?
No, that's a different area where he keeps his RC planes, and we'll talk about that later.
All right.
But the level of wealth, like to build this and to take time to do this.
He's been building it for 10 years then.
Yeah, but 1,000, but these take a long time. Like these big, huge, 1,000 acres. The thing is, that's
more than that.
Well, I thought it said, is it more than?
So he originally bought almost 900 acres back then.
Okay.
He's since acquired more. The total estate is 2,100 acres. What? And it's like on top of a mountain in Douglasville, Georgia. The house is 40,000 square feet. And I counted looking at it. There's like 6 chimneys coming off the thing. Like, seriously, you look at that estate, the whole layout, it's like
Rockefeller
the landscaping and everything. Like it's truly, you talk about people living like a king. That is living like a king. I mean,
he even talked about how
royalty.
Like he brought Barack Obama there, and his wife stayed there, and then like a few other presidents have just been there to stay at his house.
I'd stay at his house,
dude. I could live in like the other corner of his house, and he would never know. I could have like a big party. He would never know. It's such a big house.
The house that he sold before moving to this one was also in Georgia. He sold it for $17.5 million, bought it in 2005 for $9 million. But that was, so the current house is 40,000 square feet, 8 bed, 12 bath. Previous house was 35,000 square feet, 7 bed, 14 bath. So like not that different.
But the estate.
But the estate is dramatic. Like the old house was on 17 acres, but it was pretty cool looking. Like,
Jimmy, pull it up. Let me.
It had a 2-story parking garage with a tennis court on top of that.
Now, how would I Google that?
It had a small airstrip. I don't know, Tyler Perry old house or something. The shot of like the back of the property is what's amazing. So that's a tennis court
on top of a parking deck.
On top of a 2-story parking deck. You can see right here. I think it's his old RC runway. And he's got his pools. He's got like inside. The guy has good landscaping, I'll just say.
It's got good taste. That's a beautiful
But that's
home.
the old house. That's
the old throwaway home.
Which is worth, based on like what it's sold, I mean, it's like a 1/6 of the value of what he, just put in the new place. Here's the problem though, with buying $100 million home. Building $100 million estate is like you pretty dramatically limit your potential future market, like future buyers of that house. Like maybe he's never going to sell it. Maybe he wants to live there forever. But the idea that like, I mean, there's got to be what, 1,000 people
who could afford
in the country or maybe the world who could afford that, actually afford it versus stretch. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off. Maybe
he might have enough money to last like 4 or 5 generations, because the property taxes on that would be crazy, and that would be insane.
On $100 million home in 2,100 acres, the property taxes.
He probably went to the city and was like, "Look, I bring in a lot of money to the city."
To Atlanta? Well,
yeah. And he's just like,
Should we talk about his studio? That's a good
Yeah.
point. Maybe he's got like a Disneyland arrangement. Disney
let's
World
get a little
arrangement?
bit into his background.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
because like
Go ahead.
he's obviously this baller. He's got all this money. He's flexing like crazy. You know, he's not, like I said before on the podcast, he's not living this humble
He's
life.
not Dave Ramsey?
He's not Dave Ramsey in this. He has the coolest houses, the coolest cars, spares no expense. I mean, he has parties for his employees and stuff that cost more than homes. Like, and it's just like big homes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, he started off as broke.
Should we go work for him?
Maybe so. We'll podcast about how.
Don't say anything bad.
Okay, we'll be good. So what's sad though, as you look at this cute kid, his father basically was very abusive, and how can you basically beat your child looking as cute as this? It just I don't
Or
know.
beat your child at all, Jacob.
Well, if it's an ugly,
No.
whatever. It's like a,
No, not funny.
no. It's not. I'm just saying I don't know how people
No,
can
but
do that.
I know, yeah. at
Like, how
all.
do you look
I
at your
know.
loving kid? But I think his dad might have been an alcoholic. But this video, I want you to watch this real
And
quick.
didn't he grow? I mean, they grew up very poor too, right?
Very poor. And this video kind of covers some of that.
Oh,
do,
okay.
do you mind watching some of this real quick?
Absolutely not.
Perry was born into a poor family in New Orleans. He was abused as a child, having a painful and lonely adolescence. Then, Oprah happened.
Oprah.
Oprah happened.
Everybody.
She had a segment about how journaling could be therapeutic, and it clicked with him. Writing became his outlet, and he channeled all his hurt and abuse and rage into letters, which became the inspiration for his first play.
Having
My
something
life
you're good at
changed.
is always
He
important.
moved to Atlanta and invested his
1992
life savings into this production.
was that first
It
production.
was not a hit.
Hmm.
There wasn't anyone in the audience when it had its opening night in 1992. But Perry was determined to not let his play fail, so he lived out of his car while he tweaked the production, designing the set, making programs, hanging lights, even selling snacks during intermission. His dedication paid off, and the play toured from 1998 to 2000.
Wow.
He invested his profits into his second play, I Can Do Bad All By Myself, that introduced the famous character of Medea, which Perry played himself. It was supposed to tour only 5 cities, but audiences really liked Medea.
They got murdered. Somebody got murdered.
Tyler Perry played her all around the country. Now, let's just have this on record. Before he ever had a TV show, before he ever had a movie, Tyler Perry took in more than $100 million from theater ticket sales, $20 million from merchandise, and another $30 million from videos of the performances.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like, so big. So
Just
big.
from
Just
playing
from
Medea
plays.
in his play.
Yeah, but he would go to like arenas and play.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, nobody knew who he was. Like in the movie industry.
Yep.
So when he come calling saying, "Hey, I'd like to do this screenplay," they yeah, sure, we'll distribute it, we'll do something with you, but they didn't take like him serious.
But he
at
was
all.
in a position financially to
yeah.
say,
He's like,
well,
no, I
if-
got fanatics, I got fans, I've got you don't understand.
But also, I think what you're getting at is he was not beholden to like the gatekeepers. Like he basically probably got to a point where he's like, well, I've got some funds. Like I can just do this myself, right?
Yeah, basically. And so what a lot of the studios actually were just distribution for him because there's a lot of a monopoly, even though they're not supposed to. But the movie theaters and the studios have on placing them in theaters. And so you have to kind of go through a distribution company and all that stuff. But he did, and nobody took him serious. Side note, though, I do want to talk a few minutes about what was up in the 90s and comedians dressing like women, like for characters. Mrs. Doubtfire, Big Mama's House, and then, of course, Medea, but then also Eddie Murphy did. And there, it
Nutty
goes,
Professor, yeah,
and it
you're
goes
right.
on and on. Ernest P. Worrell dressed
So
to
you
have
had
that one.
like men dressing up as women, sometimes larger women, but
Yes.
even like the Nutty Professor. There was this whole thing of like bodysuits, essentially.
Right. You
Yeah.
couldn't just find a woman that would fit these parts.
You're right.
What-
the
what-
idea that Robin Williams had to play. Now,
Yeah.
Robin Williams was a fantastic Mrs.
But-
Doubtfire. That's what makes the
That was what's fun.
what makes it great. bit.
But there was this theme. It was like a movie theme where it's like these comedians or whatever, they would somehow find themselves into a scenario where they had to dress up like a woman, or they're portraying everybody in the family, like the Nutty Professor one. He portrayed every single one of those characters. And that was just a side tangent, but it's
No, you're right. Like it's
so many. And I just put 4 on this picture. And there's many, many, many more TV shows. And
yeah, it's weird. You're right. There was a lot of that. And it was successful.
Yeah. But here's something I found. I want to play on this a little bit. We mentioned earlier about owning it. A lot of times when you start in the industry, especially this with music, people always think, well, you got to sign your first deal. They get all the money so they can recoup, and eventually I'll get my turn. And then what ends up happening is they sign you for this deal. You might get 3% of all the money. They front you a little bit money so you feel rich because, $100,000 or $10,000 to someone who's broke is awesome. They've been living in a van touring for the last 2 years. They've only had McDonald's. So that money is just everything to them. And they don't realize they have to pay all of it back. Then they expense it, and they don't know anything about financing. And so what ends up happening is there's a little bit of success. They used up the money. They just toss the bands aside, and they go on to the next, and there is no recoup. So he actually got some advice from Oprah. But I want to...
Well, the studios and the labels are positioned to take advantage and leverage delayed gratification.
Yes.
They don't need, because of decisions made decades and decades over in the past, they don't need the money today to continue moving forward. They will, to them, giving $10,000 is no big deal. $100,000 advance, $1 million advance, depending on the artist. And, they know that those royalties are going to come in over time, and they're going to be much, much better off. But to your point, there's so many artists. I mean, like we talked about Taylor Swift, about how, she didn't own her masters. And it became a big problem for her. So like, just this idea of like, own everything you can.
As much as you can.
Your intellectual property. So what's Oprah have to say about it?
Oprah became a fan of Perry, inviting him on her talk show for the first time in 2001. On stage, they had an emotional conversation about resilience. Backstage, Oprah told him the secret to her success: own everything.
Do it.
Just like he did with his first play, Tyler Perry invested his own money into his first Hollywood movie. And again, critics hated it, but his fans showed up.
Pause
In
this
its
for 1
opening
second.
weekend, Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
He didn't just bet the farm hoping that his like first movie that he put together was going to be successful. He knew from earning hundreds of millions of dollars, it sounds like, that the character of Medea was this smash hit.
Yeah.
And so
he already made $150 million. Of course he knew it.
So like he had a high degree of confidence that really all he was, that he would be successful, because really all he was doing was taking this successful character and storyline and shifting the channel, shifting like how it was being presented. So instead of like a live play, moving it into Hollywood movie format.
This has happened time and time again in commerce, especially, where people will look at like the African-American people and not spend a lot of money in advertisement specifically, but they don't realize when they are loyal to like a brand or a person or something, they would overlook them, especially in the past. They would just like, yeah, well, it's not a market we're into, they'll say. But the reality is someone comes in and says, you know what? This is a perfect audience for me. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what they need. Yeah. And then they present it. And then all of a sudden they have all the market. And then here comes all the other people. Oh, well, I just want a piece of that. How can I help? And then they're in a place of power. So like a lot of times when people overlook us, like whether it be a style of music or a fad or even like a cultural thing, it's a perfect opportunity to go in and own the market. And that's almost exactly what he did. Yeah, especially for this style of movies.
Right. Yeah. Because you're saying like, I mean, basically Tyler Perry found an underserved market in the Black community, like as far as entertainment goes.
And a lot of the movies were like, well, we're not going to make movies specifically only for them. They're only, this many percentage of the market. It's not going to do. But like, I love that stuff. Like it wasn't specifically just for them, So let me fast forward a little bit. I want you to see the rest of this.
In its opening weekend, Diary of a Mad Black Woman was #1 at the box office.
Mind you, critics hated it.
Nearly $22 million.
Whew.
Executives were
spent $1 million.
Starting to give credit to Tyler Perry. 2 years after Diary of a Mad Black Woman, his first TV show, House of Pain, became the highest-rated, first-run syndicated cable show of all time. So far, he's written and produced more than 1,200 episodes of television in the past 15
Wow.
years.
That's so much creative energy coming out of one brain.
So Viacom, I'm not 100% certain what Viacom is. Has to do with is it distribution of TV shows? Do they own like cable networks or whatever it is? But they have like $150 million a year like contract with them.
With who?
With Viacom.
Tyler Perry has
Tyler
this
Perry
contract?
does.
Okay.
And all of his content, all of his TV shows to distribute to all of them.
Like on demand?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
But all I know is like I read that and I was like, what? $150 million. Let me see if I can pull up. I took a screenshot of it because I was like, oh, what?
So I want to just comment.
Yeah, it was Viacom. There's $150 million a year he gets for licensing all of his content.
Wow.
A year.
Okay, well that adds up in a hurry.
A year.
I want to make $150 million a year.
Yeah.
Own everything. So we talked about this recently too. This concept of like a lot of people try to earn their way to wealth and earn their way to financial freedom, financial security, and if you're built for it, if you're equipped for it, and have, the mindset and the skill set, the true path to like real wealth is to own your way to it through equity and creating things and owning intellectual property, owning actual property, but it's assets that will get you enormous wealth. Not that you can't earn a lot, but the amount of time,
The amount of taxes they take out of it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just from a sheer numbers standpoint anyway. I'm just talking numbers. Like when you do the math, it's actually a lot harder and takes longer to earn your way to $1 million or X million, dollars. If you're not owning anything, if you're not generating, income through assets,
Well, that's
or
part of
wealth through assets.
what we're doing right now too. We've worked for people for so many years, making content, making projects. It's like, yeah, great, cool. We made $20,000 off this one project. We made 40 off this project, but it's like, that's it. It's done.
Right.
Those people then now are going to take that music video or project, whatever we worked on, and go make, $1 million over that thing over its entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready to own. I'm ready to start building those things and those assets.
Well, I just think we basically need a $100 million mansion like Tyler Perry.
That's it.
I'll share it with you if you want. We could share it.
You would never see me. I could literally just be on one, like the West Wing.
You could get 3 fireplaces for you and your family, and I would get 3 for mine. And yeah,
Dude, I would take the parking deck. Do you realize how nice his parking deck is?
probably extremely nice.
Or how nice his RC place is.
Do you think he's got to worry about getting mugged in his own parking deck like everybody else does in parking
probably
decks?
So good.
He
doesn't.
Supposedly he had like presidential level security is what I saw.
I would
on his estate.
imagine. I would imagine.
I'm sure now, especially, but
I mean, people are crazy, man. I'm a nobody, and I've had people do weird stuff and trying, like knowing where I live and stuff.
it's mostly me, but
No, but it just, go ahead.
talking about making $22 million, at the box office with the opening of that movie. I just want to mention a really pretty amazing stat here. He was the first filmmaker in history. Tyler Perry was the first filmmaker in history to have five films open at #1 within 5 years.
What?
And it's a record that beats Steven Spielberg, James Cameron, and Quentin Tarantino. So he had 5 films open at #1 within 5 years. And
they're all low budget.
well, yeah, that too. Yes, they're all low budget. Yeah, compared to like a James Cameron film or a Steven Spielberg, like it's crazy.
Well, I feel like also the quantity at which he puts out movies and TV shows, like you cannot. It's like the YouTube algorithm. You can't stop, and he never did. They just boom, 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 boom.
It's almost encouraging a little bit though, the idea that in a world where, especially nowadays, like the budgets for some of these movies coming out, like you look at like, these Avengers movies and stuff, like they're just getting out of control, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Like if they throw enough money at it, they don't have to worry so much about story or about, an engaging cast or humor or anything. It's just kind of like, we'll just some of the I hate to say, but like some of the Netflix like feature films that have come out that like we've watched in our family, I've kind of felt that way where I'm like, well, the trailer was awesome and the movie looks great, but like this isn't it's not a top tier movie. This is not a classic. And
it's almost like when everybody's the absolute best, I feel like a lot of people just rely on everybody being good, that they almost give less. Whereas if I feel like, shoot, like this movie depends upon me or this project depends upon me, I will give it 120%. And then everybody else sees that, then they give more. But what I feel like when I'm on a set where everybody's really high end, it's like everybody's like, well, I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm going to do my thing and I don't care about anything else. And that's what it feels like, a disconnect.
It doesn't have that grassroots thing.
It doesn't.
I want you to know when you give 120%, that's my green light to give 80% then.
No, give it all, man.
I can squeak by with 80%.
So have you seen, like it took a quick tour of
his studio?
His studio?
No, can I talk about it real quick?
Please, yes.
Can I just give some
Because I don't know
high
much
level?
about it. Yes,
okay.
please do.
So in 2015, Tyler Perry acquired the former Fort McPherson Army base. It was it's a 330 acre lot with 200 acres of green space. And it's one of the largest production facilities in the country. He paid $30 million and invested $250 million in addition to build it up. But it's got 40 buildings, 12 purpose-built sound stages, anywhere from 10,000 to 40,000 square feet, those sound stages. He's got a ton of different sets. They include a bank, baseball fields, a chapel, a county jail, coffee shop, classic diner, farmhouse, historic district, lakeside cabin, post theater, prison yard, rustic cabin, another theater, even a White House, and the Oval Office. So
I didn't know all that was there.
Yes, it's enormous. It's huge.
And what a lot of people don't know, well, why build it? Well, why build a barbershop? Why have a bank? Listen, y'all, if you've ever tried booking a place for a movie or a music video,
right? How are you going to book a bank or a prison?
They have to shut it down.
Yeah,
You
or
have
you shoot overnight.
Or
We've
you shoot
done that before.
Oh my gosh, yes. The thing is, then they see, oh, it's Tyler Perry, or it's this artist. Then they want to charge 5 times the rate.
Oh yeah. Or you have
2 hours.
A million rubberneckers standing around. Like you get people crowding
peeking
around.
in the window. Or people, we've seen a scenario where people come in and you can't do that. And then they get a little Barney Fife and they try not to let you use chairs in the Capitol. And you know who you are, lady. Mm-hmm. Was that Virginia we were at? Mm-hmm. Even though we got permission from like the head dog.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
Anyways, that'll be a story for another day.
Keep making me sing on this.
But no, for real, the ease upon which it is, it's like, all right, guys, it's a wrap for the night. Leave your stuff. We'll be here at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And it's secured.
It's secured.
Oh, yeah.
It's left there. And you're not having to pay $25,000 for a location. You don't think that they'd be charging $25,000, $30,000 a location for a Tyler Perry movie?
Is this a commercial for Tyler Perry Studios?
Dude, I'm so proud of this guy. The fact that he went from like a poor kid, an abusive father, to having $100 million mansion. I'm just like, hell yeah, bro.
The screw you money.
Well, it's just the fact that like he believed in his work so much, he lived in his car to keep it going. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that's like. Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of parallels, one thing that stood out, you might be Tyler Perry, because I noticed, I saw this a few times in researching that daily he wrote down his thoughts and his experiences. And
really?
I know that you carry around your little notebook, and every day you write down I think you write down what you're going to do, and then at the end of the day, what you did, or like just some thoughts. What do you do with that notebook? Remind me.
For me, it's just like, what are the most important things to get done in that day? Like I'll start off with a good list, long list of like things I wish I could get done. And then I'll write down the 3 most important things I need to get done. Like moves the family forward, moves me forward, and it'll move the company forward. Those are the values upon which I set for those 3 things. Mm-hmm. If I get nothing else done, those things need to get done. And then I have the I wish. And that's things like, I want to work on my Jeep, or I wish I could do this, or whatever it is. But then I'll give it a full assessment of my day. Like, well, I woke up, I did this, this, and this. I did not do a good job doing this, this, and that. I did really good. I'm very
you give yourself like a performance review
every single day.
Yeah.
I look at my day as if it was not my day, and I was reviewing somebody else. I'm like, well, I've literally had their lazy piece of shit. ... Feeling sick, didn't do anything but watch Netflix. Like, and then so when I'm flipping through my book and like looking back and I see that, and I'm like, oh, I was like, there's one. Oh, there's another one. Like,
I'd write that down for myself and then tear that page out so I wouldn't see it
want to
later.
know. I want to know. And I write myself a letter, and I've done it for 3 years now, almost. I write myself a letter to look back at the end of the year of what I wanted myself to do for the following year, what I'd like to improve myself.
That's
And
good, man, because
it's humiliating though. Because
So,
I'm
like-
like, oh God, I didn't do any of that shit.
so most legitimate employers, and a lot of employees don't really love this, but frankly, the truth is it's good for you. But most legitimate employers will require that you do some sort of defining of goals for the year, and then your performance that year is essentially measured against how well you did against those goals. And usually they're very specific work-related goals. They're not necessarily like your professional, personal development type goals. They're how well did you maximize revenue for whatever campaign or whatever. But
Well, mine's all about moving like my spirituality. Yeah, that word.
But I'm just saying that for you, being self-employed, it's really great that you do that for yourself, because like that I think a lot of probably entrepreneurs ignore that piece. That's all I'm saying. So that's good that you do that.
Well, I needed it because I had no way of measuring time, like really to myself. Time was just moving too fast, and I'd work all day, then be with family, friends, and boom, go to sleep. Get up, same thing over and over again. There was no sitting and reflecting, and I was just like, damn, like I feel like my life is just fleeting by. And now I've actually added where I'm doing a video every single day for my kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sit down. I've got 10 minutes. I'll sit down, push record, and I talk to my kids for the future.
For 10 minutes every day?
Yeah.
You think they're going to sit down and watch that shit?
No.
I'm
Probably not.
That was awful for me to say. I'm just kidding. But like over time, that's going to be like
Yeah.
hours and hours and days of footage.
Yeah, but then they could actually just
I hope they do watch
scan
it.
it
I
through
hope-
AI, and then they can just have full conversations with their dad in the Matrix. It'll be great.
One day when I'm like 70 years old, I would love to like sit down and listen. Like when I'm retired, I would love to sit down and listen to hours and days of like my parents reflecting on their middle age years essentially. And I won't have that, but your kids will have that, which actually is super
That's
cool.
what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Because like even one time I was like, well, Riker, I love you more than you will ever know. But today while I was wiping your butt, you decided to take a shit on my head. And I just laughed. I was like, I love you. And in the future, when those things are hopefully not happening, you know, I just want you to know today it happened.
You're like, look,
and
now
I looked at it, I was like, it was this hand. But no, writing it down, I needed it. And it's humbling because like you look at your life in a very particular way, and I start to see all these little books stack up of my life, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta get shit done. And also look at a day like a little more valuable, you know?
Yeah.
So-
planning ahead for sure. It's less likely to pass you by.
One, also, I have a pretty bad heart condition. So like, as far as like making videos for my kids, like heaven forbid, I don't think I'm going to pass away, but heaven forbid if I passed away, like I want them to know how I felt, you know, lessons I've learned in life. And it would be cool that I think that they'd value it one day.
Well, yes, you better not pass away.
Well, I hope that.
One day you will. One day we all will.
Yeah.
But I want you to know that if that were to happen, I'm going to set you up in this chair
Just a little.
and we're going to do Weekend at Bernie's, and I'm going to do most of the talking at that point,
Well,
but
let's
you're
hope
still
I'm-
going to join me for the show.
We can just use
Indefinitely. Yeah. I'll actually at that point be thankful that I have 10 minutes a day of you talking that I can steal from.
Are
and
you just going to
like,
steal
sit
the
right
thing?
there.
Today, my son took a shit on my head.
And I'll be like, wow, Jake, that's amazing. Tell me more.
It was, I know we're getting off of Tyler Perry. So, sorry, anybody who's listening. But it was just, I've never had that happen. You know, when you have little kids, you have to wipe their butts. You just do. And so as I'm going down for wipe number 2, he just decided to have at it.
That is so gangster.
I did ask him, I was like, well, son, why did you do that? He goes, well, I thought it was only going to be a fart. I was like, still, don't fart on a man's head.
If I had $1 for every time I've had to say that, I thought it was only going to be a fart.
Oh, my Lord. Yeah.
All right. Well,
But
that
I think
reveals
that's
a
so
lot.
he wrote daily.
Thank you for bringing us back.
Yeah.
You think anyone's ever taken a shit in Tyler Perry's hand?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. People are into weird shit.
With that kind of money, I mean, whatever he wants.
He can buy whatever he wants.
We don't even have to buy it. It's just, all right, we better move on.
Yeah, I just want to get back to, I'm proud of the guy, and here's the reason why. It's just to go from nothing and having faith all along the way says a lot. But also, I really love how he turns around and he's trying to help other people. He's helped YouTubers. He's, a guy who was in the same gym as him. He kind of helped him along the way, and he's kind of a famous YouTuber now. I forget his name. But
why is Tyler Perry going to the gym?
Well,
Does he not have like a gym and a half in his gigantic home?
It could have been a long time ago. I have no clue. All I know is, though, that kid never asked him for any money. But what he got was better than money, was advice. Someone who's gone through the fire like this and worth $100 million, like he's seen a lot. And that advice is worth more than any money. Maybe $100 million would be nice. But I'm just saying, like, asking someone for $20,000 to invest in your company would be kind of foolish. But to sit down and have a mentor, that's priceless, because then you could go earn your own money. But do you have any more stats?
You know what?
About his...
I'm pretty fresh out of stats. I will just say that I think it's pretty baller that his address for Tyler Perry Studios is 1 Tyler Perry Studios. Like that's no, sorry, it's 1 Tyler Perry Studios way. Actually, you have to add the way because otherwise it's like not official.
That's so cool.
I one day want to have.
I would love a studio like this.
Either a business location or home where you can name the road after your name. I'll name it after your name specifically.
That's my RV's titled Castle 1.
Castle 1.
Yeah, because I like it. I want a Castle 2 and a Castle 3.
You guys have your list. Let's go on this tour then.
All right, cool.
Tyler Perry here. Want to take you on a tour of Tyler Perry Studios. So hop in. Come on. Let's
Appreciate
go for a
that,
ride.
man. I'm glad we get to go ride with him.
But look at all this stuff, man. Like whatever you needed to film, you could, like the plane. Remember I told you about the plane?
Tyler
I didn't know it was a
Studios
plane.
is 330 acres in the heart of Atlanta. This was all Fort
So cool.
McPherson Army base. So 12 sound stages. We're getting ready for our big grand opening celebration.
So
where we
big.
will be dedicating these sound stages to a lot of people who have inspired and encouraged me over the years.
Kubota tractor.
So you got Halle Berry
Good
here,
for him.
and Denzel Washington, and Whoopi Goldberg, and Oprah. Lots of things have been shot here. The Walking Dead, Black Panther shot here. First Man, Instant Family with Mark Wahlberg. This is Maxine.
Look at that. It's a whole neighborhood.
Back lot where I shoot a few of my TV shows. Some of the fans of those shows will definitely recognize.
It's so smart.
Some of these houses, especially this neighborhood in particular, from If Loving You Is Wrong. Oh, I gotta show you something. This is Medea's car.
Didn't you pause
She
there for
would
one
say-
second? And I think he just said it with all these movies. He's like renting he doesn't own them. Those aren't his movies, right? Like he's
renting them out.
So he's getting paid a ton of money for people to come and film their big
all the
productions
time
on his set.
All the time. And it's
amazing.
brilliant. But think about it. It's not only just a little town, but it's a town that's set up specifically for the electrical. So everywhere has a place to plug in your lights.
Yeah.
You
It's
don't have
set up for filming.
It's set up for filming.
Yep.
Like ceilings can move out of the way so you have your lighting.
Yep.
You got, like, right up the road is all the lighting and supplies and gaffing stuff you would
sure.
ever need, sound and all this stuff. And so you're going into a town not just looking like a town, but it's built to film in, and that's way different. Walls can move, things can adjust, lights can, lights are some of the windows are tinted so that when you're filming inside, it's not blowing out the lights. So it's brilliant.
How many like Airbnbs have we rented to film within?
And then to spend money to get it ready.
Yeah, like, and then it's just you're like working around weird corners and angles and like having to move furniture and like cramming a whole crew of people into a small spot to get the shot that you need. Yeah, it'd be amazing to just have it set up and ready for you.
Look at this. This is funny.
She would say,
Medea's car.
This is my 1974 Cadillac, and I bought it in 74 and hadn't had maintenance on it since. But if you notice the luxury plastic on the seats, you see if you are Architectural Digest, this is what's wrong with people with Architectural Digest. They don't know how to put plastic on their furniture. They buy all that nice shit, spend all that money on all that nice shit, but they don't know how to put no plastic on their furniture. Put plastic on all your skin. Thank you.
dream
It's just
come
funny.
true for me. It's a dream
Look at
come
that
true for everybody
facility.
who comes to work here.
That's like the office buildings.
Yeah. But inside of this building, and I kind of cut the video short because it goes on for like 12 minutes. But inside of there's hospitals, there's a church, there's a hotel. If you want it to look like a hotel, you go down this hall. If you want it to look like a hospital hall, you go down this hall. If you want to, it looks like a church, you go down this area. There's rooms, there's hotels, and it's brilliant. And people rent it out all the time because it's not real, but it looks real. And it's set up and it's designed specifically for filming.
And
I love it.
Atlanta is this huge hub for filming, right? I mean, over the last like
a lot of it because of this guy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously there was the commission of Georgia really making the tax deductions for people to move in, come in. There was people before that, but he was among the first to take really big advantage of it.
So there's some challenges in the industry that I think you're going to cover now with some of the changes. But
let's talk about the White House.
You going to show us the White House on the property?
The man has his own replica of the White House.
I would just sit in that Oval Office and just pretend to be president all the time.
Bomb that shit. Kill that motherfucker. Raise the taxes.
I mean, I think you nailed it. That's about all you need, right?
That's what all the presidents do.
Now I'm going to show you the White House. Welcome to the White House.
He's like, I got my own White House.
So still a lot of cleaning being done here, but
that's crazy.
That's so cool.
Let's go upstairs. This is the 80%
80%
of the actual White House in Washington, D.C.
Not 50, 80%.
This for my new show called The Oval on BET. And we're really proud of how it turned out. The residents of the White House, famous, iconic window here, President's bedroom. Some hell has gone on in this room over the last episodes. Oh, we've done some everything in here. This is the daughter's room. This is the son's room. We built this about five and a half months ago. We started it. This is the only White House that's ever been built at a studio on a lot, and we are really excited about it.
That's brilliant because every which way you point it looks like the White House.
So there have been stories. I have obviously no way of knowing this or verifying this, but I have heard people talk about how there's around the country multiple duplicates of the Oval Office, so that in times of national emergency, the president can essentially address the nation from what appears to be the White House without like disclosing a location.
Did he get funded from the government to make this?
Well,
it would make sense, buddy.
It makes me wonder if there's not some ongoing contract anyway to where it's like, hey, you are now, and you're a pretty, damn near pretty close replica, pretty accurate depiction of the Oval Office, or like a passable replica to where in times of national emergency, like it could be used. I don't know. It's just
That's
probably
awesome.
not, it's a
would be cool.
semi-secure site. It's obviously not like a bunker underground, but.
Now, if I'm correct, he owns part of the streaming version, the Netflix version of BET. He was a part owner of that.
Okay.
So the man has his hands in a lot of that stuff, and that's pretty cool.
What's this?
Oh, I actually learned about his place I watch RC flying stuff with my son. We both love it. We like the building of it all.
RC meaning like remote control.
Remote control, like planes. So my son and I want to build our own little remote control plane together. We think it'd be kind of a fun thing to do. And we came across this video, and it just happened to be Tyler Perry's, basically a mansion that he has for his RC planes. And I just want you to see it because it's a YouTuber. I forget his name. I apologize. I'll put it in the description below.
His planes live better than most of us.
Yeah.
The majority.
I mean, his RC planes are basically aeroplanes.
Uh-huh.
So look at this. These guys come flying in on a helicopter. That's his estate. Just look at that. And then way off over here is his runway.
It's so far away.
So far away. I mean, it's a huge estate.
Yeah, I mean, 2,100 acres. It's crazy.
That's the biggest RC plane I've ever seen.
Look at the sizes.
So who are these guys?
Just some YouTubers. I forget their names.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I hate that I forgot it.
Wow.
But that's hundreds of thousands of dollars in RC planes.
It's huge.
Goodness.
How long did this take you guys to build? 5 months.
I mean,
Oh my Lanta.
so hold on a sec. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
So he's got an Oval Office. He's got a White House. That's Air Force One. So I'm sure he uses that for film productions.
Oh, that's a
Like,
great observation. That
look-
was Air Force One.
Look
We
at
go
that
back?
thing. You
We
put
go
it.
back.
Well, it's pulling out right now. You'll see.
No,
it,
no,
but-
that's U.S. Air Force, not Air Force One.
Well, oh, okay.
I thought you were referencing.
You're right. I'm sorry. I thought it said Air Force One, but either way,
I thought that you were referencing to that guy. Oh, that's not Air Force
either
One.
way, any of these could be used. You put this up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're not going to have any depth perception to know, like, is that a real, Airbus or Boeing or, what is that? That's not a C. That's like a
That's
C-17.
C-17, yeah. Well, look, they got it taken off here in a second.
Okay.
I mean, that could fly my fat ass.
But you could use that though in a
Look at this.
in a movie.
Yeah.
Like you.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, up in the sky, that does.
You can't right
You
there.
can't
well,
tell.
besides that bird flying by, but or is that another plane?
That's another. That's some spy plane.
But think about that. Like if you're filming a movie and
filming a
you
little bit in slow mo.
and you need that shot,
Yeah.
like comparatively speaking, compared to like putting a C-17 in flight in the crew and like reserving, like setting it up with the FAA or FAA. And, I mean, like cost of fuel, cost of the professionals involved, like it'd be prohibitively expensive in most cases. So to do an RC flight, which is going to be way less, I mean,
It's kind of a good
the
idea.
guy has all these
tax write-off.
money making assets.
Oh yeah, and he loves it too. I cut it off in the video because it was really long because it was like a 30-minute video. But he has an entire section where they just build planes.
Do you think that airstrip actually works like for real? Like, could he land?
That's long enough.
Go back.
Yeah,
Let me
as
see
you can
how wide
see-
it is. He could land a small plane, right?
Check that small plane.
Well,
Probably.
I don't know. That's kind of a very small plane.
Yeah.
A jet, though, maybe. He could take off a jet. I don't know if he could land it.
But yeah, like he's got full-time people specifically helping make RC stuff.
That's crazy.
Now that's a lot of money when you can have like employees for your hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's smart, like you're saying, and he's actually using them for movie stuff,
Right,
that's
right.
brilliant.
I think he would have to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's everything else about his. Although, why wouldn't he have him at the studio? He's got him at his house versus like at Tyler Perry Studios. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I
Who
don't know.
knows? I mean, if you
Although
needed,
couldn't he just fly him
he
over
could
there?
just fly him over, yeah. Or just
just
film
wanna-
there.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things though, do you want to talk about anything else, or do we move on to this?
No, man. Tell me about this. Some of the troubles, the woes.
Well, the man's smart enough to know how things are going, and he was in the process of expanding the studios, multiple locations. That one location, he was going to spend $800 million on expansion, hiring
In the same spot.
same spot, but also other locations, probably buying up other studios, expanding. I don't know the full details, but here is the video upon why he's put it on hold.
Well, new at 6, Georgia's film industry is booming, but now one area filmmaker and actor is putting his $800 million expansion plans on hold. Tyler Perry tells The Hollywood Reporter that he is pressing pause because of the rapid rise of artificial intelligence. So Perry planned to build about 12 sound stages. He was going to add these to his Atlanta studio. And in the interview, he says seeing the capabilities of OpenAI's newest tool called Sora made him rethink his need for physical filming locations. Sora can apparently make realistic videos from short text prompts. Perry is also raising the alarm about the impact of AI here. He believes it will touch every corner of the film industry, causing job loss. He says that everyone in the industry should take this seriously and talk to Congress about moving this forward.
Isn't that crazy? He's right, though.
I think so.
When I saw Sora stuff for the first time, I'm like, oh, it's going to kill the entire industry. Just with version 2 or in 1 year's time, have you seen the comparison between what it was like last year and then versus this year with the
I think you sent it to me with like Will Smith eating.
yes,
Yeah.
most disturbing Will Smith. I'm going to pull that up just so people can see.
Compared to that other guy eating a
Yes.
burger or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on the AI stuff?
There's going to come a time, because I think he's right. There will come a time where essentially everything is AI generated, in marketing, ads, in TV shows, movies. And I think that there's going to be a market demand for like real, authentic, actual, like some, because at that point, the actual, like what's being filmed is going to be the unique, different thing. What's being captured in a camera, that'll be unlike anything else, I think. But I don't know. Let's see this.
I mean, that was AI a year ago. That's pretty bad. That's disturbing to look at.
It's weird. It messes with your brain.
It looks
All
like.
right, so what's it now?
Well, I don't think they have specifically a Will Smith one, but like Sora now. Look at this stuff. I know I keep harping on this stuff, but like, no, it's not perfect yet. And there's a lot of flaws, especially with like the hands and stuff like that, but it's not bad. Like we look at this
But
one.
nobody animated it. It's just, they just typed a prompt in.
Yeah.
So
there's going to be software upon which you can upload characters and from every angle, and it knows what to do and what their characteristics would be, what they would say, how they would react, what they will do.
See, sailing inside a cup of tea, 2 battleships, like it will absolutely forever change marketing for sure.
Also, like 3D animation, like people who make that stuff, like this is not real people right here.
Oh, wow.
So you could see how it's just not quite connecting in the ground, right? But this is not, that wasn't real people. Like, look at that. There's a robot, kind of a cyberpunk look. Now you can see in the background, you see that like floating leg? See that like floating leg right here?
Oh, yeah.
And then look how the feet can't figure it out just quite yet. Like it's like a weird V shape.
I'm telling
it's
you,
close.
The future of real estate investing is going to be in server farms, like property to because this stuff is going to require so much storage space.
Have you seen what they're doing right now?
Because
this is a side tangent, but dude, they're literally building these server farms next to areas that they know have nuclear power plants.
Why?
Because of the energy output. Because they don't want to be like, well, you're costing this much in carbon and you need to be taxed more. They want to have a clean source of energy. So they're putting them next to huge hydro dams. Nuclear is probably the most green thing, except for they don't know what to do with the waste yet.
Right.
But
in terms of the actual power generation.
15 years it can run off of, some of these cells or whatever it is. But the point is like they're even looking into trying to build small nuclear plants to power these server farms. So the amount of hundreds of billions of dollars being put into server farms and these GPU farms and specific,
I think there's going to be,
Yeah.
I think 100 years from now, there's going to be a shitload of them in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like at the bottom of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
what, cooling?
Did we talk about that?
We talked about
Keep
that.
them cool.
They're building them now.
But also they're not taking up valuable real estate on land where people need to live and work and occupy. Like,
well, some of the biggest cost is cooling them. Mm-hmm. What a perfect way. But the ocean's very corrosive, so they got to figure that out. But I know that Microsoft was actually testing that by putting these big tubes that were servers in the ocean and using the waves to help power them. Mm-hmm. So they were doing a test. You're 100% correct. That's what they're going to do for the future.
Just because we're going to need so much space.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay.
So I think Tyler Perry is right about this. Is like, whoa, let's hold up just a little bit. Let's continue with our production, but let's not sink almost $1 billion into new studios if Sora can just type it out.
He's going to start buying the ocean floor.
And he's probably coming up with his own AI. He's taking that $800 million and he's probably building his own AI. He's going to come out with Tyler Perry show, Medea AI.
I could see it.
Yeah. Well,
it's amazing though. Like you look at what he's accomplished. I don't know. Do you know how old he is?
No, I can look that up though.
I mean, the guy has accumulated enormous wealth from nothing, as we talked about, by mainly owning his intellectual property. Good on him. 54 years old.
Good on you, man. He's 54.
Especially as
so
like
cool.
A couple of creators who have like worked in this industry. It's so cool to like build it yourself. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's been the source of his success and his wealth, again, owning it, ownership, as you talked about.
And the fact that originally didn't, he wasn't spending $50 million a movie to make maybe $100 million.
Controlling his budgets for sure.
And he came out at a good time. The DVD market was huge for allowing smaller budget movies to exist, because when they released to the movie theaters, you had so many weeks and that was it. That's the money that you made. Well, then the DVD market came along and you were like, oh my goodness, I could resell this 3 months later.
Yeah, you can make up any gaps. So if a movie costs you 20, you need to spend 20 million to advertise. That's kind of the thing. So now you're in 40. Well, you have to split that with the theaters. So you need to make $80 million in that time. Nobody's going to waste money on small movies to not get a big return. So the DVD market made up for that. So they could invest $10 million in a movie, $5 million in a movie, because they knew they were going to make it up in the DVDs. Well, now the DVD market's gone. But if Tyler Perry came out around that same time and he's selling DVDs, on this one thing. And on top of that, now he's licensing all these movies. He's got such a catalog.
$150 million a year with Viacom.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, and not to mention whatever he's licensing with some of the other streaming services, unless you're saying Viacom is the sort of conduit for all of those. I don't know. But
can you imagine having, so he could stop producing anything right now and have a catalog for years.
Yeah.
Very impressive, exciting. I think that we all can admit that it's a bit scary with AI if you're in the creative industry, because it's like, well,
it's an amazing, amazing resource though.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I mean, it's one of those where it's like, you can't, like that, that train has left the station. And, I mean, what we're seeing from AI is unbelievable. The capability is crazy. I think it's just a matter of like, how do we control this unbelievable force and unbelievable gift in a lot of ways that we as humans want so badly to misuse, and just because we're fallible and foolish.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah. But I'm hopeful that my brother and I were talking the other day. We were helping my parents move, and so we're sort of like we're working our way through the house and like sort of talking about some memories that we've had, and we were in
the place you grew up in.
Yeah, and we were in like the room of the house where the family computer was, and he and I used to, years ago, when it was like the early stages of dial-up internet, where we would sit and consume like stupid content that existed, like time wasting.
E-Bombs World?
Yeah. Time wasted, like what was it, coffeebreak.com, and like these stupid little games, just time wasting things. But we talked about how like back then it was almost like people didn't know exactly what to use home computers and the internet for. It was like, well, we have this capability, but like, is this going to be a gaming system? Is this simply going to be like a word processor? It was back
AOL dial-up.
Our first computer, we had floppy disks that you'd like put in and boot up. And to think, we were talking about this, to think like how far the internet has come, and the internet is no longer this entity that stands on its own, that is kind of disconnected from everyday life. Like everything that we do,
everything.
Like I work all day long from home on the internet, accessing corporate assets that exist in the cloud. And then I get off and I consume content on my phone, then meet you here and we create content that's going to go out on the internet. And I mean, people's lives, like we exist, we've talked about this in the Matrix. And so it's just been a total shift in like how it all works. But I guess my point is that I think we're still in this stage with the life cycle of this iteration of real AI, where we're like, okay, what now?
Well,
like
what are we going to do with it?
We've built this thing. I don't know how it works, but we've got to this point. Now, realistically, what are the productive applications of it? And we're seeing some of that. But as far as like AI video and stuff, it's like, where is this going to lead us?
Do you think that it's going to give credence more to the story now? Because anybody can have $1 million shot.
Yeah,
like literally $1 million like shot of a superhero coming in and landing. Fast forward 8 years from now, is it all going to be about the story? But then that goes to also say, can they just get that from AI? So Yeah. So
I hope that it doesn't lead to a mass devaluation in any kind of content. I hope that if movies become something you can make like that, if I could have a blockbuster Hollywood level movie in terms of story, soundtrack, the shot list, the, acting chops, if I can have all of that in one day of supercomputer processing, what is any of that worth anymore?
I know.
Then I mean, people will be pumping out, top tier movies left and right, and like chocolate cake is awesome, but if you have it every day, you kind of it gets old. And so I just like wonder if I hope anyway, because I love great content, I love good movies, I love good music. I just hope that it doesn't become worth nothing.
I think it could, because if you think back to when music became so available, when the barriers fell for the gatekeepers keeping people out of music, all of a sudden there's 1 million songs being uploaded to Spotify, a day. It gets diluted, but like 1% of all the music is actually where 90% of the streams come from. So it devalued music. It used to be if you had a band and you had a record, dude, you were there. So there was a barrier to entry. It cost so much to record. There had to be someone who funded it. But then we kind of found a way to find the music. But now we're in a weird stage where AI will be able to scan all the hits that have ever been, analyze the psychological makeup of the humans right now in the culture, could write the best, most catchiest hit song in the world. And I could foresee that in the future, the top 10 will have something to do with AI. And because what we do now is we find all the greatest writers, find all the greatest producers, put them all in a room, get the best writers. That's why a Beyonce song will have 19 writers on it, because everybody had a piece in it. Everybody's picking it out to make this hit. I can see in the future where it'll be like AI company, blah, 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 or something, or for writers. Or
we've talked about, so combining a few things. We've talked about like AI models on models of human females that are like, have Instagram accounts that are making money, and these people don't actually exist. It's like an entire fake existence that's being sort of created and managed by a human. And then combining that with the whole Milli Vanilli thing that we talked about recently, where you had, for those that don't know, give me like the 15-second version of Milli Vanilli. Like artists that didn't actually do anything.
So in the 80s, there was a band called Milli Vanilli, and you got these two African-American guys, or people from Africa. I think they might have been French. Either way, they were black guys, good-looking guys, could dance, but really couldn't sing. There was a producer that signed them because they wanted to sing, they wanted to dance, but when he brought them over, gave them some money, they spent the money, and when it came time to actually record the album, the guy's like, "Oh, it's already done." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, we already got this guy, he's a great singer, don't worry about it, just lip sync." Well, eventually it became a big hoax. They just fake singing the whole time. They would be up on stage. They won all these awards, maybe even a Grammy.
Music, it wasn't their voice.
Wasn't their music, wasn't their voice. They just danced. They were the face. And people found out. And there was a revolt. And people wanted them dead. People tried suing. And at the end of the day, it's like they really didn't do anything wrong.
Besides,
most people are lip syncing anyways.
So take that though. Imagine where you create, in the same way that you create an AI model or character, this fake human that you can replicate and promote and essentially like live vicariously through, sort of. And then you've got someone who creates really incredible music, or you leverage AI to create even better music, and you end up with essentially like these fake artist celebrity types that are entirely the work of fiction and live in a digital space and aren't real.
There's a movie about that in there where there was like, let me look that up.
I'm just saying, I could see it happening and getting really weird, where we are essentially consuming and advocating for like an algorithm. Okay.
It's called Simone. It's exactly what you're talking about by the future of AI.
Victor Turansky has discovered the perfect actress.
Who is Simone? We know so little about her.
You can't hide her forever. Simone appears only when I want her to appear.
She's beautiful. She's talented.
Why are we here?
She's virtually perfect.
A star is digitized.
This is exactly what I'm talking about.
This is what's happening.
The truth about me. I'm going to tell the truth about you after your next picture.
I've never really seen Simone up close. Have you?
I will be checking in a very special guest. She must not be disturbed at any time for any reason whatsoever.
That's Barbie. For those listening, it's a fake CGI character that this guy is making famous.
What do? Do you keep her locked in a box somewhere?
What happened when we dusted that whole hotel suite? What about the fingerprints?
Nothing.
This summer
You're gonna get in a lot of trouble, Mr. Taransky.
Why do you have to bring that up?
comes a story about the illusion of reality.
The winner of Best Actress, Simone.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This
like,
movie's like 20, 30 years, like 30 years ahead of its time.
Did she? No. And the lies that have a life of their own.
What's the matter, Victor? You look so sad.
Gonna be a little change in plans, Simone.
See if they still love you after this.
I swear, I made Simone.
Victor, she made you.
I saw you.
From the creator.
So he's actually getting jealous of how famous she's getting, even though he made it.
Don't you love me anymore?
She's indestructible.
Al Pacino. Simone.
Never stop believing.
They even go to where she releases an album.
America, did you see that, by the way?
What did it say?
Look at the outro there. America Online keyword, Simone. Like
That's hilarious. That's how old this is.
Yeah, that's them trying to
Keyword,
be like really
Simone.
high tech.
This is exactly what you're talking about. That's why
exactly
I took the time
what
to
I'm
look.
talking about.
So people fall in love with this girl and they think she's real. He doesn't tell anybody, but then he gets jealous of how famous she is. And he's saying, no, I made her. And then they're like, yeah, of course you made her. Well, then he gets
Which
jealous.
is kind of what happened with Milli Vanilli, right? That whole situation.
So he ends up taking all the hard drives, throwing them in a case, taking this large case out to the ocean to his boat, drives it out and just dumps it in. And he's like, I'm done. Well, then she's missing. People see him leaving her place with a big thing that can fit a body in it. So they accuse
dumping something in the ocean.
So they accuse him of murder. And so he's like possibly
he's
getting arrested.
the only one who like knows her.
Yeah, he's the only one who knows she's not real because she's gone. And they even had her live on stage via a hologram, similar to how they eventually did the Michael Jackson and who was the other guy they did? Tupac. Similar to that. And so everybody's like, no, there's 50,000 people have seen her live. You're lying. And he tried convincing everybody. Well, what he ends up doing was recreating her, bringing her back with a baby. She was out just having a baby and didn't want anybody to know. And that's the end of the movie. But back then I was even like, oh, that's going to be
when was that movie made?
2002.
Okay. So, I mean, it was then 22 years ahead of.
Yeah, it was probably made in 2000, but probably released a couple years later. But
22 years ahead of its time. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. The creation of celebrity that's going to exist. We already have celebrity that exists online, like where there are people that are huge celebrities on YouTube and social media who they could go to the grocery store and people in their own hometown wouldn't even really recognize them. And the idea, like I'm telling you, it's gonna happen where there's these like celebrities that are huge, that are the entire thing is AI. The person, the music.
That's what Tyler Perry's doing right now. He took that $800 million he was going to put in his studio. He's making it into his own version of Simone. I'll bet you he's doing stuff like that. He's not stupid. He's probably going to Sora and be like, how do I get a licensed version of this? How do I specifically make it for me? He could have Medea last for the next 1,000 years.
Yeah, man. He could make 20 movies a year with her.
Oh, man. That's crazy. So you're right, though. When you were talking about this, I was like, I've seen this movie. I know it's somewhere.
That's a great example. It's so it's not a new idea, but
this was ahead of its time, though, man.
Isn't it wild, though? So that movie, and what's that movie with Sandra Bullock where she...
The Net?
The Net?
Bro, that's a scary movie, but
like...
That shit's going to happen.
Right?
Because she worked online. She always ordered her food online. She moved to a town where nobody knew her, so nobody saw her. She was an introvert. She was always at her home, and they wanted her gone because she found something on the internet, so they just replaced her with another woman.
And I had the other day, I got locked out of like a few of my online resources, you know, just things that I use frequently. And like, I thought about that movie because I was like, shoot, if I get locked out of like 5 out of like my 50, you know, different accounts and logins for critical things, if I'm locked out of like 5 of them, I start feeling like it affects my ability to log into others. And I'm just like, well, shoot, this is tough. Like,
it's terrifying.
If you get locked out, then suddenly it's like, man, I can't do anything. And then, yeah, we should talk about, I actually do want to do a podcast one day on like, identity theft and, you know, protecting yourself online and stuff. Like, I think there's some really important things that we could talk about, but, yeah, the net is that too. Some of these movies, like, it's weird to see how, on track they were years, you know, ahead of their time, but we're like heading that direction for sure. So I don't know. Anyway, we need to probably wrap this thing up, right?
Yeah. Tyler Perry, dude, you're a cool guy. I want to meet you in real life. I want to take a tour of your studio. I know Sora one day will replace all of us creatives. I don't care. Your place is cool, dude.
I want to go too.
Yeah. It's in Georgia. Like, it's not that far away. Surely they do tours.
Yeah, I mean, if we get the invite, we're definitely going.
Let's rent out the White House and just throw our yearly Christmas party
in Georgia
there.
Or in DC?
Well, let's use the one in Georgia.
Okay.
Let's rent out his White House and then throw our Christmas party there. We can afford, I think, the closet and back, right?
We can't even afford the.
Dude, I can't afford the drive there. Yeah. I just think it'd be kind of cool if we could interview him one day. I think it'd be cool. He's doing the stuff that we would like to do.
I mean, we've already had him on our show now, so like, I don't know. What's the point?
Oh, sure, okay. Well, Tyler, you came from nothing.
I think that's Mr. Perry.
Yes, sir. Mr. Perry. If you have a house worth $100 million, it should be Mr. Perry or Lord Perry.
Actually, you probably shouldn't even utter his name. Actually,
yeah.
Like King Perry.
Yes, King Perry.
Because he's living like a king anyway.
He is. I just think it's really cool, and it's kind of an American story where, and you didn't even mention about that military base used to actually be part of the South. That was originally,
Confederacy?
The Confederacy had that fort at one point in time. Amazing. So that's why I was saying it's kind of cool. As he bought that, at one point in time, it was part of the Confederacy. So here you got a place where people had slaves. They looked down on black people, and then fast forward a few hundred years.
Right.
He's owning it.
Now he owns it.
And he has adjacent to it, he has $100 million place. That's America.
That's incredible.
Yep. Well, that's it. I think we're out. Subscribe.
Thanks, y'all.